Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Chris. If you don't have one of these, let me know in the comments below and I'll get you hooked up. Some of my subscribers have already done that and I've sent them out. A couple of my other subscribers just wanted to do a sticker exchange, so that was cool too. Really appreciate that. If you like what you see in these videos, click the like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. We've been growing the channel, and I also have a second channel that just started up. It's for all the music stuff, so I'm gonna try to separate Jeep and music. We'll see how that goes. Just leave me a comment below on that. Maybe you like both being on the single channel. That's why we're twisted, right? Anyway, if you saw the last two videos we did, it was all about the oil leak. We replaced the oil pan gasket, and then part two was the valve cover gaskets. When we were doing that, we had to take a few things off just to get to those covers, and one of it was being the coil pack. The other thing was the wires here. I knew that I had this up here on the bench waiting for install. I also knew that my vehicle was 5 years old and I hadn't touched the spark plugs. I probably got 35,000 miles or so on it, and I wanted to pull them. And they don't look too bad. They're not fouled or anything, but they're definitely worn, and that gap is crazy. The performance pack, that's just gonna be a great update to the motor, okay? You can use this on a regular standard OEM motor or even a modified motor, okay? The cool thing with that pack is it's gonna increase your throttle response, increase your miles per gallon, give you about 10 horsepower at the rear wheel. That's gonna run hotter, it's got a better flame rate. So you should see a significant improvement. This one's for the 3.8, but they have them for the 3.6 for the individual coil packs. They have them for the Tacomas, the Ram trucks. Just go check out rippmods.com and you'll find your application and what's good. All right, now as far as the wires are concerned, they're a little bigger than the original OEM. But they're also a better, more efficient power transferring wire compared to the OEM. All right, it's a single core instead of the braided stuff. It's a little thicker. The silicone boots, everything's a lot better as far as heat and transfer. So we should see an improvement there. It already comes with all the protective looms. Just identify the length. With this ones, you can do it a one-for-one swap, so that way you're making sure that you're not crossing anything, you're getting anything crazy. Again, follow the diagram, shouldn't have any problems. When you look at the tray, it's already labeled 1, 3, and 5, so just identify which ones are the longer ones and then start feeding those individually and get that lined up. I am going to go ahead and take off the rest of the spark plugs and get that straight. If you haven't seen it, my gosh, use your gap tool. Because all your new spark plugs don't come pre-gapped specific to your motor. So for the 3.8, you need it to be at 0.032. Now this old one is sitting at 0.065. That's insane. It's gonna run so much better when you properly gap all these new spark plugs, and it's sitting at 0.046. I'll have to smush that down a little bit and get that properly gauged. But if you don't have one of these, they're really cool. It's got all the numbers all in, and it gets real thin and then it thickens up as you go around. Or you can use like your dirt bike feeler gauges or whatever to check those gaps. So let's go ahead and remove all the spark plugs, and we'll get the other wires off of there and feed these through the tray and then get it all installed. Should be super simple, guys. I'm not difficult at all. All right, let's go. Now the only thing you need is your 5/8 socket to get those spark plugs off. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the rest of the wires out. I already did the passenger side. Just gotta pull those 3 short ones from the driver's side and get in there. So sometimes the hardest thing is crawling up into the Jeep. All right, so now I'm gonna pull the first wire. It's gonna be from the 6-cylinder. And what's cool about these, I don't know if I pointed these out yet or not, but the wires themselves actually are labeled. So this is number 6, goes to 6-cylinder, so that's cool. So it's really easy to identify. On the Ripp spark plug wires, they are not labeled. So best thing to do is once you pull these, just find the right length from that set, and then mark it, you know, on the boot there. Just take a little pen, mark a few dots on there to indicate the number. So that way you don't get confused. You just remember what cylinder it is and you're set. So good to go. Let's get the other ones off. Come on. Woo! Good Lord, those are way over tight. A lot of threads. I think I busted my elbow on that one. Uh-oh. Lost my extension. Having some really long extensions is going to be super helpful, and also probably one of those universal socket joints, you know, so that way you can manipulate a little bit, but just feed that dude in there, get it on. Oh, that's tight. I'm gonna get some PB Blaster and spray it in there because this is stupid. So this stuff is magic when someone doesn't use anti-seize, for example, and you start getting some rust and everything else and these things get stuck. Spray a little bit of this around by the base where the threads are. Let it work for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, and it will get in there and it'll get you squared away. Well, I got that one to bust loose. Almost need like a breaker for it. And for the win. All right, we'll feed this dude in. Oh, good Lord. Look at the gaps on those things. Good Lord. All right, guys, so we got all our spark plugs, whoop, off, got our wires. Let's get back to the bench. We're gonna go ahead and gap out those new spark plugs. Definitely put the anti-seize so we don't have the issue like we just did. And then we'll identify what wires go where, and we're all set, guys. So let's go do this. Gapping the spark plugs is pretty easy. They don't come gapped from the store, so you'll have to make sure you do that. Now these gaps, oh my gosh, they are bad, okay? Maybe you can see that a little bit better. They're really bad. Okay, so now that we got all of those spark plugs pulled, and I tell you what, you can tell the difference between a worn one and a used one. Now, I don't know if you can see, I'm gonna try to gauge that. This is properly gapped at .032. This is like, shoot, I don't know. Let's see what this one is. This one is .06, almost .065. That's the difference right now of a properly gapped and a jacked up gap. So we're gonna go and fix and make sure all of these new spark plugs are gapped appropriately, and then we're gonna put some anti-seize on there so we don't have the same problem that we just did, and we'll be set. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna set the gaps of all the brand new spark plugs, and I already squished this one down probably a little too far, so I need to raise that up just a little bit. But basically, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your spark plug gap tool, and I'm looking for .032, which is not much of a gap at all, okay? So it's just right about here on the markers. So I'll slide this over the ridge, and I'm just gonna slide it up until I get to .032, and you might just wiggle it just a little bit until you get it just about there. So I know that I've got the proper gap, okay? And then I can use my .032 here on the rating, on the feeler gauge, and I see that it's nice and it slides in there without much issue. So that one is set. All right, I've got a block of wood here. You can use a little bit of metal. You can see that each one was a little different. This one is right about .45. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of pressure. You don't want to smash it too far all the way down, but just enough to where you get a little bit of movement so that you can set the gap properly. Okay, all set there. Get rid of that. And we'll go ahead and put some anti-seize on all of those. That way we're good there. Don't have to be too crazy with it, but we just want to make sure that we don't have any issue. Good maintenance habits. Should always try to do this. You know, this is probably how Tom Brady feels when he wears all his championship rings, huh guys? The GOAT. Okay, now that we've gapped all the spark plugs appropriately and they're all set and anti-seized up and ready, let's go ahead and focus our attention on the wires. Now, like I've already stated, the wires themselves have the number on there, the 6, the 4, the 2, so it makes it really easy to identify. These, unfortunately, are not marked, but they are appropriate in size. So all I gotta do is actually measure them out and find out which one goes to which, but you can tell and see that they're different sizes, right? So I know that the longest wire for the number 6 cylinder should match with the longest wire from the pack here, and so I just find the one that's just about the same size. This is the number 6. It is the longest out of all of them. And now all I'm going to do is take my pin and I'm going to mark them, so that way I don't lose sight of which wire goes to which spark plug to which coil pack, right? And I'm just going to put on there some dots. And all that's going to do is tell me that that is for cylinder 6, which is identified on the coil pack, and then I just look at my marker here for the cylinders, so that way I'm good to go. One other thing that you're going to need after we do the spark plug install is little packets of dielectric grease, and you're going to want to put some at the end of the boot on both sides of the wire. Okay, there is a connector on the inside there. You want to make sure that that grease gets up in there to cover the electrode and to cover the tip of the spark plug, and we just want to do that so that way we don't allow any corrosion to build up. If water gets in there for whatever reason, moisture, we don't want that. We want to make sure that we have a good connection and that we're keeping it protected from any kind of moisture. So these are super cheap. I picked up a few of these packets from AutoZone, O'Reilly's. Again, it's just electrical connector dielectric grease. Cool. Okay. And when we're looking at the raceway here, you see it as 135, and there's these little holes up at the top of the tray. And all you're going to do is you're going to go to the left side of it, and you're going to pry it just a little bit behind, and then you're going to push up on the back of the clip, and you'll see that it just released nice and easy. Okay, because if you start prying on this back side, you're going to break the plastic, especially if it's cold or if it's just really old. But again, you're going to stab right on the back side, push it to the side there, and you're going to lift up at the same time on the little end there, and you should see that it releases pretty easy. Okay. And look at that, it fits in there, no problem. All right. Okay, I want 5, 1, and 3. So, where's 5 at? 5. Pull that out, like that, and then put the cover back on it and squish it down. All right, wires are good. All right, now we're getting ready to put in the spark plugs. Now this thing doesn't require a whole lot of torque to put in the motor. You don't want to strip those out. You don't want to over tighten them. It's only 12 foot-pounds. 12 foot-pounds, okay? Now, I got a huge torque wrench, right? This thing does foot-pounds and it goes up to like 80 foot-pounds. But when you start getting down to the 0 range, it really tails off quickly. And it just may not be very accurate. So, what you can do is find a smaller torque wrench, or you can even find a inch-pound and just convert 12 foot-pounds times 12 inches. Pretty easy, it's 144. This will actually go up to 150, so I feel a little bit more secure getting ready to max this dude out compared to getting at the very bottom end of that other torque wrench to make sure that I get the proper settings. So let's go ahead and thread these dudes in super quick, and then we'll get the proper torque on them. And really, ow, that's my foot. If you don't have a torque wrench, tighten it up to where it just gets seated, and then just give it a little bit of a turn, not even a quarter of a turn. Just make sure it's snug, okay, if you don't have a torque wrench. All right, cool. If it starts to go in there and then it instantly stops, and just don't overdo it. Don't strip them out. Pull back out, reset. It should go in there and almost finger tight all the way to the bottom of the spark plug before you get to that point where you need to actually torque it. You can see I'm doing this all by hand, and we're just about to the point where it just seated and we're set there, okay? Too easy. And that's all it took, okay? Just super simple 144. And that's it. Super simple. You almost can't even see that hole back there. Not the easiest job to crawl in here. Just to change spark plugs, and I think that's why they probably charge a whole lot of money at the dealership. In case you're trying to do it yourself. So just a few extensions, long arms. Don't be afraid to crawl up into your Jeep. All right. Oh, and it dropped. That's it. Sweet. All right, so now I got my wires and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to start feeding that in there. And you see the raceway, everything's lined up. I've got them marked at the bottom there, and I've got them also marked on this side. And the only thing we got to do is feed them back behind the motor, and then put these little stanchions off of the raceway on top of the bolts that go to the valve cover. Now I taped the ends of these. Hopefully I can keep them all together and feed them through the back. I may actually take this wire from the other side, kind of feed it through there, tie it around this, and then pull it through, because it's kind of difficult unless you have smaller hands and longer arms to get back through there. Let's see how easy that is, okay? All right, so I got a couple of feet of wire here, and I'm just gonna run them about the same way that the wires came out to begin with. So it's underneath some of the wire looms, and then I'm just gonna feed it through there, through the back. Okay, now we'll just tie that end on there, be good. Let's see if that works. It might be better to have a buddy helping you with this part of it. Let me crawl back on the other side and see if I can get it. Oh, okay. We're on this side, so I'm pretty confident about that. You can see them here. That wasn't too bad. I'm gonna put a little bit of this dielectric grease in there just to make sure that we are all good. And all I gotta do is just squeeze some and put it in the ends, you know, just to make sure that it's gonna get some coverage on the end of those spark plugs. And we're all set. Let me get a little bit more on that last one, or that first one we did. I don't think I put very much in there. So now I just got to find which spark plug goes to which one. On the cylinders, looking at the front of the vehicle, it's going to be 1, 3, 5. So I'm just going to identify and find that number 5 that I already marked. I'm going to start with that one first since it's furthest to the back. Probably hardest to get to. And just make sure you put that on there. You should feel some sort of a click and you're set, right? And then number 3, let's see here. Number 3 is probably the next shortest one. And that's this one here. Just put that on until you hear it click. Put that last little boot on there. I've got the grease on it. Should feel it click 1, 2, or 3. And that's that. And get them on the boot. All right, then we'll go ahead and get the box started. Get the coil pack started. Get that tightened up a little bit, and then we will get it connected in just a minute. Ain't going nowhere. Sweet. All right, now let's get our wires. Look at it. There's my 3. 3 at the bottom. And then don't forget to connect your electrical. It just slides right back over on it and clicks in place. New video install. Alright guys, well I thought we were going to start the vehicle, but the battery's a little weak. We had some super cold weather. I mean, we were like 5 degrees for a while, 10 degrees, 17. I know you all are talking. I know you guys know what we're talking about. We were colder here in Oklahoma and Texas than we were in Wisconsin. Now that's crazy. So anyway, let me go ahead and get this juiced up real quick, and we'll see if we can get it to fire off. Let's go. Guys, that wraps up this video. I hope you got something out of it. Super simple repair. Spark plugs, wires, new coil pack. I suspect it's going to be a pretty good addition. I'm waiting to see if I can feel that 10 horsepower. If you like what you saw, click the like and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys. Send me a comment, let me know if you want one, and I'll get one hooked up. All right, I'll get you hooked up. I'll get you hooked up.